guys, I got a little treat for y'all. I called in the other day to Dark Waters YouTube channel, and he was having a live podcast where he was asking people to call in about their reptilian stories. And since I know three people that have seen these hybrid beings, I called in. Now, I know two people, or at least, had come across two people in the film industry that had shared their stories of Sasquatch with me as well, the Sasquatch encounters that they had in Georgia. So, this is going to be the next level for us during the next age when we get into Capricorn or get closer to Capricorn. These other creatures are going to start becoming more widely known. And as time is cyclical, all of those mythological creatures of the past, the centaurs, the manticores, all this stuff is going to be present in our world again. It was never fables. The control system, the dark control system, would like to have you believe that it's just imaginary stuff that was made up by these people. But people spoke about the things that they knew. And that's one thing, we should probably try to grasp in our own collective consciousness again, is that, hey, look, the potential for this is really high, that these creatures existed, because as we can see now what they're doing with genetics, it's insane. Like, we just circle back around to doing the same things we did before, because as we go through that great wheel cycle, we're going through all of the different processes of alchemy, and we have to learn from the same processes over and over and over as different forms. Now, people will be able to become, like the soul of a person will be able to become a hybrid being, so that they can have that experience of being half human and half animal. And, the darkness can only distort what the pure creation is. It can't really create, so it creates a distortion of that original creation, which is made from the light of heaven. And I have witnessed in a few occasions of my life where life is created from just the ether alone. You don't have to have the seed, you don't have to have the fish eggs. Things just naturally occur because of the alchemical processes that are all around us. Now, it could be that the nature spirits are also helping to co-create that thing. And once we get deeply into the age of Aquarius, we will know more about the nature spirits that are all around us, that we are not the only ones here. We never were and never will be. And all of the processes to connect with them is coming back right now. And it's, something that people can tap into. These are our innate abilities. We are a spirit in a corporeal form that can work and harness with the elements of alchemy. So, with this being said, I just felt compelled, after going through all the stuff that I've researched and learned about this world, and then my own personal experiences, I felt compelled to speak with James of Dark Waters, so that way, I could share outwardly some of the information that I've come across. So, without further ado, here is the phone conversation.
Of some sort of technological mass, I guess, starts pulling it up off of his head to reveal his reptilian face. Now, I already know they have this crazy technology of invisible cloaking. I've seen all these crazy things that we could never even imagine. And, for God, how long now has our government really been dealing with these underground beings that are unknown to us, unknown to the average person, but that they walk among us as they look human,
Right.
So in the other two accounts of this, they were, one of my friends who also works in the movies, she's actually, a production designer and a set designer, like a set decorator. She had to go to downtown Atlanta. She took her daughter to the Michaels that's down in Buckhead.
Okay.
And it was during the evening when her daughter got out of the car, she said nobody was in the parking lot because it was starting to get close to the end of the night where, Michael's would be closing. And she let her daughter get out of the car by herself. When all of a sudden, this man appears from out of nowhere. This man appears and crosses right in front of her car while her daughter is, walking towards the store entrance. And as he crossed in front of her car, she saw his eyes. And she said his eyes were slit. And she instinctively knew to get out of the car. So she got out of the car and she starts yelling at this man. She's like, "You stop right there. You stop." And all of a sudden he disappeared in front of her eyes. So what are we dealing with? I believe we're dealing with things that have a higher technology than we've ever known. And, they have some capability to, disappear maybe, or, I've also there's actually a patent, a U.S. patent on how to walk through walls. And I've seen it myself just last week.
No, you got to give me that patent number. What's the patent number on that? Give me that one.
I will have to, let me see if it's in my phone because I saved it. But that U.S. patent, you can look it up. I'll have to find, because I save all of the Instagram messages and stuff when it matters like that.
Right.
I saved them all. Let me look this up real quick and see if I can open my Instagram while I'm talking to you, because these are the things that we need to know. And it's actually to do with all your chakras. So you can obviously, once you can interact with your chakras in such a way to manipulate your own biology, that's when things will actually start, happening. But this is the real patent. Let me see if I got this thing in my phone. I'm scrolling through this right now. I've been doing this kind of research for years now. And okay, here it is. I've got to see if I can copy this link and open it. And then I'll try to get this patent for you.
Yeah, that's wild. Because the people were out here walking through the walls. I got to figure out how to walk. I'm not about unlocking no chakras. I ain't playing with none of that. But if I could just get a device and walk through a wall, it's going down out here in these streets. I'm walking through every wall there is.
Well, listen, all of this stuff, we have capabilities. You know that it said in the Bible, all of these things you can do and more. It's because, we live in a dense holographic experience, apparently. But there's so many things that we just have not discovered because of this certain energy time period where we find ourselves. Because again, I dive into the most occult knowledge on the planet, and I'm realizing so many things. And with this timeline that we're going into, it's carrying a certain age, a certain energy for the age. And in Western astrology, they tell you we're going into the age of Aquarius. What does that mean? Well, it's dominated by Saturnian energy, which is Satan energy. And that's, that's just on another level. Maybe I can text it to you. Let me see if it's got the...
Just text it to this number that you're calling me on.
Yeah, I can. I can send you this link. Walking Through Walls Training System.
Wow.
And it has the U.S. patent. It has the military guys. It's just showing like clips and stuff. And it shows you how to do it with your chakra system. Like it shows you the 7 chakras, and then it is, just showing how somehow you can manipulate time and space with your own body. So I'm going to text it to you now. So that way you will have this link and you can start looking at this, because it has the patent number in there. I had to take a screenshot, I think, when I was watching it so that I could grab the number of the patent and look it up to make sure that this was verified. And I looked it up and it is legitimate.
That's wild.
Yes.
Yeah, that's...
So then, the other story about the reptilian hybrid, this woman had been friends with this Hispanic guy for some time, and there was a moment where he was kind of acting stressed out, she asked him, she's like, "What is wrong with you?" She's like, they were just friends, but he was doing something that kind of raised her concern. And she's like, look, you can talk to me, because apparently he needed someone to talk to. And she said when he finally like just relaxed and took a big breath inside, his eyes shifted completely into slits. So
What?
here's what, yeah. So, I mean, this is, they walk among us because humans have the demon seed inside of them. Whether they know it or not. You know, there are different traits about reptilians that we can actually find within ourselves. We have a reptilian brainstem at the back of our brain. And we also shed our skin, just like reptiles do. Now, when we're in the embryonic phase of growth into a human, we actually have a tail. And these are things that they don't tell you. When you're just going through school and college or whatever, they're not going to tell you all these things. These are things that you find if you're in the medical field. You might know some more things about this, but these are things to consider that most people have not really looked into. But I do believe that they walk among us. There's other beings here. I talk to other people from other countries, like Peru and across the world. And they tell me things about these other instances of these other beings that are demonic, that actually will vampire off of people. And these are in the myths and legends of old. And I believe if we turn to the myths and legends, we're going to find out a lot of information about what's really here among us. That I'm suspecting that humans actually create these things at some point, because we have labs underground where they're making chimera right now. I mean, I've seen crazy stuff. Years ago, back around 2010, they were making glow-in-the-dark rabbits, by splicing the DNA from a rabbit and jellyfish. And I'm like, this is heinous. What is this? But then there is a Navajo elder, and you guys can see that on the channel Navajo Traditional Teachings on YouTube. He speaks about the Anasazi, and he says the Anasazi were their enemies. And the Anasazi were proud of the fact that they could take the heart or head of a dog and put it on another dog. And that the Anasazi liked to enslave people. They would enslave people and use them and sell them and do all kinds of things. And this was the enemy of the Native Americans. So when I was listening to that word Anasazi, it hit me that it sounds very similar to Ashkenazi and Nazi. And I'm like, oh my God. So, and I'm not saying, but I'm saying, like, I've learned that sound is the main frequency that creates light, and that everything in existence is made of a sound frequency. So if you can harness the science of sound in technology, you can literally manipulate time and space. That's how easy it really is, but it's actually complicated because you have to have the right technology. So there it is in a nutshell. So it's starting to make more sense to me that when they talk about space aliens, space is all around us.
And they're talking about interdimensional beings all around us is what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, that too, yes. They're talking about the extraterrans, because Terra is Earth, terrestrial is Earth. They're telling us everything, but they're selling us the story to our eyes through television, through Hollywood sets, and Nasha. Nasha is a deceiver. If you like the word NASA in Hebrew is actually Nasha, because it's not pronounced the way we pronounce S's. The S is a SH sound. So these are the things that we have to consider. It's like, oh my gosh, what are they doing exactly?
Let me slow you down. I want to go back and circle back to something, because I want everybody to hear that very first story that you told about the guy who was a lizard on at the Hollywood set. Run back to that story for me real quick, because I want them to hear that. That was freaky.
Yeah, so the very first story I told was about my friend who actually worked for government contracts. And the government contracts that she was working on were obviously had something to do with satellites and telecommunications and things of this nature. Well, she was only 19, and she's in these top secret programs where she's working on this stuff that she can't even talk about to her own family. And her coworker, who she was obviously familiar with and friends with at work, got selected to go out to Area 51 with their supervisor. Now, this was all from New York. You know, she was in New York at the time. They go out to Area 51, and her coworker calls her back in New York and says, "Hey, our supervisor is an alien." And she's shocked because she's like, "What? What are you talking about?" So when they get back from, I guess it was probably 6 weeks or so. Oh, I should add too that the guy has also stated that when they were on the base at Area 51, he could flash a card and go literally into any area of the base. And he was just there to install whatever systems they were installing. Well, they come back from being out there installing that stuff. The supervisor goes straight to her and he says, "I shouldn't have to remind you that the things that we do here are top secret and you're under a non-disclosure agreement not to speak of such things." Well, this is where she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about, you know, because I haven't been talking about what we do here." And he reaches at his neckline for some kind of technology that is like a mask. He reaches for his neck, pulls it up over his head, and reveals his reptilian head to her. Now, you know, she said that she was so shocked that, you know, her analytical mind was trying to figure out how he got his snoot to fit beneath the mask that he was wearing. And she said it like when she found out what all she was involved with, she was freaking out, and she prayed to God, you know, at some point after all of that, to please get her out of that whole company and everything. And she said the next day she was fired, which means that there's consciousness or somebody, or maybe they have, you know, planted bugs around her. You know, when you work for the government, they're going to make sure that they're covered, and they're going to be spying on you and stuff like that. So, you know, these are the craziest tales, but I just open up and I talk to people about literally anything, because I've had strange experiences in my own life that I cannot explain, except that dark forces do dwell among us. And so I would tell people the craziest stories. I had a doctor that told me one time that he had been abducted, you know, ever since he was a child. He was abducted and put in a UFO and taken up into the craft or somewhere and sat in front of a monitor where they were, you know, basically sending subliminal messages to his subconscious mind. And I'm like, what was that doing? You know, because that was all they ever did. He said, no, they didn't probe him. They didn't do nothing like that. It was just, he sat in front of a monitor and then he was returned home. And that would happen about like once a week, ever since he was 5 until the age he was about 10. And he couldn't explain it, you know, but I've met these people because I believe that, you know, I have a path of coming forward with all of the stories and information that I've found in order to share it for this age of truth that is rising all around us. And, you know, now's the time to start talking about literally everything, every experience. Don't be afraid to talk about, you know, whether it's ghosts or spirits or UFOs or aliens or hybrid beings, chimera, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the indigenous cultures know about different beings. That's the problem Americans have. We've been in such a material world, we don't believe in these tales, you know. But there's some people who have had these crazy experiences, and they're scared to talk about it because they think that somebody's going to judge them. So it's time to put aside the fear and start actually talking about these things, because it's very important to know what's going on, because there's something coming. There's something creeping into our lives right now that is not for our benefit. And so we're the ones who have to come together and awaken and share the knowledge, and then start working together to build a closer relationship, because it seems to me, based on all of my research of what the heck is going on Earth, that there's a dark force that's working in collaboration with other dark forces that they can, like indoctrinate, I guess, into their club, because Hollywood's all about it. Believe me, I work in Hollywood movie sets. I see a lot of stuff, and I just...
Is it true what they say those people do on sets where they're doing rituals on set? Is that true? You don't have to go deep into it, but is it true?
The entire thing. So here's the thing. The occultists are not going to actually do crazy stuff, in front of the crew, because they don't know the crew. We are all under non-disclosure agreements to even be on a production. We sign NDAs at the beginning. When we get hired, we do not talk about the things that we do. Like we are under a non-disclosure. If you're at work, you're not supposed to be talking, like taking pictures, all that. Of course people do, because people just do whatever they want. But, to post things online and all of that, that's all their copyrighted material. Now, let me tell you what I've noticed. After being on set since 2009, working, with the crew, behind the scenes, on set, off set, all this stuff, I've noticed that what they do is a grooming process. If they are newer types of actors, they will get them in, and of course they're going to, throw the red carpet around for them. In the sense of, hey, we love you. They're going to constantly, put all this idolatry on them and treat them like in such a manner to build up their ego. And then as they progress through the years of their career, because I was on Walking Dead for 4 years, I've seen, as these actors have grown, and then other shows that came about like Vampire Diaries and all this stuff, I've seen how they treat them like kings and queens, and then all of a sudden they're going to start asking them to do sex scenes, or they're going to start asking them, hey, we need you to wear this dress. Or, if it's a male, or, I've noticed this. This is a pattern. They're trying to see if the person can actually be debased from whatever their belief system is. And it's all about seeing how dark someone can go away from their light. This is basically the whole premise. This is what's happening in Hollywood. Now, when you have signed away your life, like some of these career, actors have done, when you sign away these agreements, then now you're owned fully, and they will tell you what you are going to do. I've seen how some of the people who are singers, like Taylor Swift and all these other people who are just starting the business, they get in there, and when they begin, it's like they're singing about God and life and all this stuff, but then later they're just all corrupted and just sexual, and it's about destroying the human condition. It's everything out here. If people can gain the eyes to see about what's happening on Earth right now, about how everything just seems to be debased, unvalued, with your virtues, that all of these things, the serpent seed is upon the Earth right now. And it's trying to see who will go through that door, that dark gate door, into hell, basically, to go to your lower states of consciousness, to achieve the monetary value. Now, here's something that's important. I came across a little photo online of the word money, and how if you write it out in all capital letters and then flip it and look at it in a mirror, how it spells out venom. And I was like, are you kidding me? They've been using it as a tool to debase humanity and to steer them and control them. And that's where we're going. And now that the game is shifting into the digital world, which is the metaverse, it's going to be metaphysical knowledge versus the metaverse knowledge. So you got metaphysical, where you can actually connect with your God spark that you came in with. You can connect with that, and you can do amazing things that Jesus was capable of. This is true. I've seen some stuff, But then you can also choose the metaverse, which I've already seen where they're saying that you can have all of this technology put inside your body and they can upload your consciousness to the cloud, download it into a sleeve. What they call a sleeve is another human body that's been cloned, and you can live forever. And this is what's coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, people.
It's already here. It's not what's coming. It's already here. All right, sister. I'm going to let you go and grab somebody else. Give me your name again, because I want to make sure I know when you call back, because you'll be dropping jewels.
Oh, listen, we can do a chat anytime. I do this. I have my own channel. It's Era of My Ways. And I talk about all the crazy things that I find, and etymology of words. This is how deep I go. But yes, my name is Ellen. And, we can keep in touch, because I've got more to share. Let me tell you, there's so much out here.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen, babe. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye. Ellen dropping bombs out here in these streets. She dropping nuclear bombs. She dropping the kind of bombs that get your channel turned off real quick, fast, in a hurry while you're in the middle of talking. You know what I'm saying? But she hitting the nail on the head. 504-345-1996.
All righty then. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that little tidbit of a conversation that I shared with James. And I can see that I'll probably talk with him in the future about different subjects. If he starts to cover more things besides just reptilians. I'm very interested in knowing about the cryptids of the world as well. And I spoke with my Peruvian friend who was telling me about the people that they have there. I asked him about reptilians. He said that they have the frog-faced people. They knew of these creatures. They have a wide mouth, and it sounded similar to a reptilian type of thing. Or it can even be because it popped into my head just now, of what people are saying about other people's faces, how they are starting to turn demonic, but their mouth is getting really wide. Maybe this is what we're dealing with. Maybe they have some way of shape-shifting, or people can actually see their real form. Or maybe they're coming forward out of the ground with this crazy technology that can hide their form, but then that technology, even the frequency of it, can't hide behind certain people's elevated consciousness that's rising. I mean, we got to start thinking in terms of the frequencies. Each person is emitting a different frequency based on the genetics and also the food, the toxins in the body and different levels of toxins that are trying to, inhibit the actual natural abilities that we have. And there's all these different factors that can go into why everybody's not seeing these things all at once, or why we're not on the same level across the board. Well, we have to, imbibe those energies first. And if we don't have it in this current construct, of this experience, then maybe in the next life, or maybe 5 lives down the road, I don't know. But these are just things to consider. And to continue about my Peruvian friend, he was telling me also that beneath the churches are these beings they call the catacumba. The catacumbas are these beings that live in tunnels in the ground, and they were typically found beneath the churches. So what are we dealing with? Again, we got to listen to these ancient cultures. They're telling us everything we need to know about the strangest things in reality. But because of our modern day society, where our collective memory was wiped, we were brought over on orphan trains. Most of us have like an orphan grandparent or great grandparent or even father or something like that. Somewhere down the lineage, there was an orphan parent that was then adopted to another family and raised. So it's been this whole process of them, the dark faction, that basically wiped the memories of us and then reset society, because that's what the whole Tartarian narrative is about. And so that's all that can happen going around the Great Wheel of Time. Once you get to the highest obtainable knowledge, then great wars, greater wars than you can even imagine, begin to happen because they've reached the highest points that you can go because they're using sacred geometry, they're using the sound frequencies, they're using crazy, crazy implements that they've created and imbibed these different structures with their mind. Because you can do this in the magical practice, you can actually put your mind and your consciousness inside an object. Usually, the thing we don't consider is that the objects that we use every day, once we come in contact with it, it is now collecting our frequency, like our entire auric field of energy and our consciousness. It holds that in its form because everything is electric and magnetic. And as certain items are probably more magnetic than others, it can just go right in and it'll hold it just like a crystal will. So, we live in a very strange society and a world of magical powers, things that have abilities, and we have yet to tap into those abilities. But the dark faction has a leg up and a head start on us, and that's why this whole game is about to shift into this robotoid world where they can try to control and collect consciousness at the same time. They just want greater power in that regard. That's all the dark forces can ever do. They don't create like we do. So we're the ones who create. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you guys and hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys on the next one.